one of the most important things that I teach my clients is the practice to develop emotional maturity by zooming out as much as they are present to stay present in the moment. So think about the stock market. If you zoom out in the last 10 years, you are going to see that there were a lot of ups and downs, but at the end, it's always been trending up. But if you zoom in like one day in 2008, you probably would have lost it if you just saw that one day. And a lot of people did because a lot of things happened in that period of time. Now, the thing is, what happened 10 years after that? Things kept going up. So what happens in your brain when something really terrifying and traumatic happens is like, you just want to focus on that. And I want you to zoom out and think about this. Welcome to Exposed, the show that gives you the raw truth about what it really takes to build a multi-million-dollar coaching business and a life that you're obsessed with. I'm your host, Juliana Garcia, marketing strategist and master coach. And after building a multi-million-dollar business from scratch, each week, I want to take you behind the scenes with actionable business strategies and profound mindset shifts to help you create wealth from the inside and out, so that you can become the exception to the rule in the coaching industry. I'm exposing the uncomfortable truths, the failures, and the topics that most podcasts don't dare to talk about. So let's dive into today's episode. Welcome, everyone. We have a delicious episode for you today. And when I say we, I mean I. I'm going to tell you some really vulnerable stories around things that I have gone through and how I navigated the difficult times in my life. And I still created big money goals. We're going to talk about the 6 ways. You know me, I like some step-by-step processes to create big money goals, even when shit hits the fan, even when life gets in the way. I know that for some of you, that can be as difficult as someone dying, a death in the family, a pet dying. It could be a health issue. It could be a divorce. It could be anything hard, traumatic, difficult that is very real. It happens. And there are not enough people really talking about this openly and showing the behind the scenes of what it looks like to navigate these things. And how do you navigate it? How do you come out on the other side? What does it mean when these big things happen? Should I quit the launch? Should I quit my business? Should I change direction? What's the meaning? I see so many people get caught up in that and the whole emotional aspect of the situation. And I know that because I have gone through it. And so my intention with today's podcast is that you come back to it as many times as you need to whenever something difficult happens in your life. And I know that will happen because you're a human and it's okay. You're not meant to not go through difficult things, hard situations. It's okay to understand that's just part of life. And this sweet spot, the important thing is knowing, how do we navigate this? How do I still have a thriving business? How do I still hold myself with love? And how do I navigate all the difficulties that life throws my way? So I'm going to give you 6 things that are going to be extremely profound. So I'm going to give you 6 strategies that are going to be very profound. But first, let's talk about the exposed story of the day. I have a few for you. So I did not get here by having a life that was just so smooth and peaceful and delicious that there were no obstacles. When people see me now and they're like, wow, how do you see yourself with that lens, like through that lens? Like I have my friend here who's staying with me and she was like, you know, something that I have observed about you, that you really like yourself and you celebrate yourself and you have your own back and you appreciate yourself. And like, that is rare. Like you really live and breathe it. And she's like, I mean, I see you operate, run around, do your thing, your Juliana thing. And like, even through hard times and moments, there's this sense of, I got me. And I was like, yeah, I mean, I do feel like I got me and I know how to navigate anything that life throws my way, but not because life was easy for me and not because I was born this way and my parents just made me think this way. I did not have the upbringing that felt like the most supportive. So I really believe that experience, grit, courage, going through a lot of different obstacles, and some of the ones that I'm going to share with you today have actually really been part of how I've developed this mindset where I can just really create the life that I want and move through things and still just have my own back. So I want to share a story that was very difficult for me so that you understand the depth and maybe you can relate to maybe the difficulty of this and the uncertainty and the emotional aspect of it. Back in 2018, I was going through a really difficult time because my business was just starting to take off. And I finally built the courage to show up online and share my message. And I was just like, okay, let's go. After being in the like, let me overthink it way, not showing up, and the, fear of being seen for years, finally started doing it. And then that year, my immigration case to become a citizen here in the US got lost in the mail. It got so complicated. I could not afford a lawyer at the time. So I was my own lawyer and I had to do basically this part time. I had to move through this entire case and send the papers. And it was just extremely complicated. Like everything that could have gone wrong went wrong. And I don't know if you know this, my immigrants out there will get this. And I've immigrated from like twice to Australia and then America, not the easiest countries to immigrate to. And I've done it twice by myself. So, but America was definitely the one that was like, oh my God, this is a whole thing. It was so hard. And at the time, 2 years prior, Trump had been elected. So the Latino population was not the most welcome in this country. And my last name is Garcia. So people just thought I was Mexican. And just in general, like Mexican Latinos, the whole thing was just one big pool of people. And we didn't want them in America. So my life was basically pending on someone's desk. And my future, my destiny was on someone's desk waiting to be approved or declined. The level of fear, uncertainty, survival, the unknown that I had to live with for 7 years put me in a space where I had to really deeply feel it. And now I feel like I can handle anything, because imagine just feeling like somebody at any point you could get deported even though you're a legal immigrant, you have everything on paper, that you're not illegal. They could just decide that they don't want to accept your case. That's just how it goes. The level of uncertainty, fear that happens in your body, it's something that I just cannot even explain. Maybe immigrants will get it, or maybe you, if you're not an immigrant, you've gone through something where it feels just such a deep level of survival, like something really hard. And at the same time, I had to show up and make money in my business because I needed to pay the bills. So it was April 2019. And I had this part-time job to be a lawyer for myself in this case and print everything all over again and just do that. I mean, it was hard. And as you do that kind of work, you're thinking about your life and getting in the rabbit hole of immigration and the future and getting it right. And then of course my brain had no capacity for my business. So what did I do? I decided, okay, I can't context switch and do a little bit of immigration here and there. I need to just do 15 days straight of just getting all this paperwork done. I'm going to send it, and I can only work 15 days of the month in my business. And that's what I did. And that month I felt uncertainty, lack, survival. I was just so in my feels about everything, crying to my ex-boyfriend at the time. And he was so supportive and so loving, but he couldn't do anything about it. Like I had to do the whole thing myself. So that month I ended up making $40,000 in sales, even though I was going through so much lack, so much survival mode, so many feelings that just don't support the reality of making a lot of money. And so this is the first lesson that I learned that I want you to write down, because the personal development world has somehow created this idea that in order for us to create miracles, to create amazing things, to create the life that we want, we need to be feeling great all of the time. And if it doesn't feel good, we shouldn't do it. Or if it doesn't feel good, then you are not going to be able to create your results. And that is bullshit. That could not be further from the truth. And I know because I am proof of it. I have proven that wrong over and over again. I was feeling lack and uncertainty in relation to my business and in relation to my life. Like the whole thing was just lack and uncertainty, but I still made money. How is that possible? How is that possible? So I'm going to leave you with a little question mark in there. So the first lesson that I want to teach you is that you can feel a lot of negative emotion and still make a lot of fucking money and create the results that you want. One does not exclude the other. In the personal development world, for some reason, has embedded this idea, this common belief in people's brains that in order to create amazing things, we have to feel amazing. We have to be high vibe. We have to just have perfect internal feelings and just be perfect all the time. And that is impossible. We're human beings. Life is lifing all of the time. Sometimes less, sometimes more. Sometimes everything's amazing. Sometimes things are completely not going according to plan. Sometimes you're about to get kicked out of the country and you don't know if you're going to be back, or sometimes you're having a divorce that completely came out of left field and you're still in the middle of a launch. Whatever it is, life is lifing. So what I want you to take away from this moment right now is notice if there's a part of you that feels like you shouldn't be feeling negative emotion because that is blocking your manifestation. Not true at all. You can feel your humanness, and that has nothing to do with your capacity to sell, to make money. One does not exclude the other. You can feel like shit and still make a lot of money. I mean, think about really rich people that don't know anything about personal development and, cleaning up your mindset and your emotions, and they feel like shit and they still make money. How is that? Because you don't need to feel good and have perfect thoughts, feelings, and intentions and emotions in order to make a lot of money. Those two things are separate. And I'm going to show you how it relates later, but those two things are completely separate. You don't need to feel positive all the time to make money. Okay. The second thing that I want to teach you is based on another time when things went really sideways for me. I was in a hotel room in Miami on January 7th, 2021, and I had just finished, or I was in the middle of a trip with this guy that I thought that was going to be my person for the rest of my life. And after 3 weeks of us traveling the world, we ended up in Miami in a hotel room. And after a lot of back and forth conversations, one day, I mean, the day before he broke up with me, he decided that, I mean, we're talking about marriage. I mean, we were like really in it. And then the next day he walks into the hotel room and then he goes, Juliana, these have been the best 2.5 weeks of my entire life. I don't see a romantic future with you. Goodbye. And he walked off after had the most amazing weeks of our lives and talking about marriage and talking about this and talking about that, all the things. I was on cloud nine. I thought like, this is my person. Turns out he wasn't. And I felt this overwhelming sensation of like my entire body just like fell apart inside. Like it's like a car crash happened. My bones were broken. And I felt like I literally couldn't even get out of my bed to pee because I was so heartbroken that my entire body hurt. And that same night, I had a friend come over. We went to Nobu. And I just knew in the moment, like, oh, I dodged a bullet. Like consciously, I knew I dodged a bullet. But in my body, my emotions were just not catching up. So what happened? And just to make it better, that same day, 3 clients in my first round ever of the Momentum Mastermind, that is a program that hundreds of clients have now gone through, but my first ever round, I had 7 people sign up and then 3 of them backed out that same day. And then also on the same day, a coach that had the time, and I'm going to slowly but surely open up to sharing more about this because this was extremely traumatic for me, also kicked me out of the mastermind that I was in. And at the time, there was just a lot of codependency and difficult situation. I just felt like I was being abandoned left, right, and center. All of that happened in one day. So not only that, but I had a launch that I was planning for because I do my launches for Magnetize and Monetize every January. And I was going back from literally Miami. I was meant to go straight into the launch to do my 5-day challenge. So I went back home and I had this launch and I felt like I could not show up for it. But I asked another one of my coaches, I'm like, please help me just get the courage to show up and sell because I need to. And I just could not. And she said, you are not thinking like a $2 million earner. And at that year I had declared that's what I was going to do. I was going to create my first $2 million year. And at the end of the year, I actually ended up doing it. And she said, you're not thinking like a $2 million earner. You need to heal. You need to let yourself take rest and just like heal your heart. And I was like, what do you mean heal? Like I need to go make sales. I have $2 million to make. What are you talking about? And I remember when she gave me permission just to like rest. And she's like, Juliana, millionaires don't get out of bed for like $200,000. I was like, oh my God, because I had only 20 people to go. And I already had 16 people in the cohort. I mean, at the time, that's what I was doing. I was going for bigger, whatever. So I felt pressure drop off my shoulders. And I was like, oh my God, I really don't have to do this. And that gave me the desire to send the emails. And so what I did is I took care of myself. I healed my heart. I did not show up to the live streams series that I do, like my 5-day challenge. And I still sold out the spots. How is that possible? Even though I was feeling negative emotion. And I thought that everything was breaking around my life. And I thought that everything was the end. And like, there's no way that I would make $2 million. Well, here's why. Because I stopped catastrophizing the situation. So when your brain starts experiencing something negative, 3 multiple situations, completely heartbreaking moments that can make you feel like, oh my God, we are now going to go in a spiral of doom and gloom. Your brain is going to want to do that. And maybe you're going through a breakup. Maybe for you is a health thing. Maybe for you is something else. But when we start thinking, this is how it ends. This is my downfall. Everything always breaks. Like the shoe always drops for me. When we just feed that mentality, pile more shame and more heaviness that doesn't need to be piled up. So if you're finding yourself thinking, oh my God, I'm a coach, I shouldn't be feeling negative emotion, or oh my God, I've already gone through this lesson, why am I going through it again? Oh my God, like this shouldn't be happening, and now this is the end. And you catastrophize things, and notice this is your brain taking you on a ride that you don't want to be on. So whatever the thing is, the divorce, the death, the pet that died, I don't know, I'm being very direct because these are the things that my clients and I and people that I know have gone through. Very real things. Just know this. It means nothing about your future. Whatever's happening right now means nothing about what's possible this month, this year, in the next 10 years. Just because you got a divorce doesn't mean that you won't be happily married after. Just because this client said no doesn't mean that the next one will too. Just because this client said no doesn't mean that you're going to be broken. Nobody wants what you want to offer to the world. Stop catastrophizing. So when I was doing this live stream in my 2 years ago, I also literally thought that I made up this word catastrophizing. Turns out that is an actual word, but it's really hard to pronounce. So stop catastrophizing the current situation because it's only taking you on a loop that you don't need to be on. Don't make it mean anything about the future. So I'm going to go back to the story about the launch in a minute because I want to take you through the process that helped me sell out the launch and how I coach myself through it. That's going to be lesson number 4. But before we get there, the third lesson that I want you to really understand when it comes to navigating difficult things is that your brain is going to want to inflame the situation and make it feel like it's bigger than what it actually is. So what I want you to do is to zoom out and look at the bigger picture. Here's what I mean. One of the most important things that I teach my clients is the practice to develop emotional maturity by zooming out as much as they are present to stay present in the moment. So think about the financial market, the stock market. If you zoom out in the last 10 years, you are going to see that there were a lot of ups and downs, but always at the end, it's always been trending up. It's always trending up. So, but if you zoom in one day in 2008, you probably would have lost it if you just saw that one day. And a lot of people did because a lot of things happened in that period of time. Now, the thing is, what happened after, the year after, 10 years after that? Things kept going up. So what happens in your brain when something really terrifying and traumatic happens is you just want to focus on that. And I want you to zoom out and think about this. What is the trend in my life? Let me look at the trend because my brain wants to get emotional. It wants to take me on a ride. So what is the trend here? So if you look at the last 10 years of your life, who you are today is so much more evolved. It has created so many more results that you probably didn't even think were possible 10 years ago. Who you have become is such an amazing version of yourself that you didn't even think that was available to you. So take your brain to the actual facts, right? Because sometimes we can get in those moments of emotion, trauma. We get so zoomed into the moment and what we make it mean. And then we loop and we zoom in a spiral, zoom in instead of zooming out. And I want you to gain perspective and offer your brain solid perspective and say, no, this is actually not true. The shoe's not always dropping. I'm always trending up in the upward spiral direction. Things are always trending up in my life. That's just the way it is. And here are the facts. And look for the facts. Don't go and compare yourself to your 5-year ago self and be like, oh, she was so much cooler. Or he was so much cooler. And we had this and we had that. Look for the evidence that things have actually gotten better. It's your job to train your brain to look at the things that actually serve you. So when I think about that for myself, when I think about how I have evolved, it's it takes me out of the moment. Even if I have a launch that doesn't go well, or even if I have a day where I have a fight with a friend, I don't know, whatever the terrible thing is, health, for example, mold last year, my body was completely taken out because of the mold. And I didn't let that mean that I was going to have the worst year ever and that my life was over, even though I was completely depressed because literally mold makes you feel depressed. I zoomed out and I said, okay, this is just one of those times. This is one of those times and I'm going to hold myself through it and I'm going to love myself through it because that's all I have. I have no one else. I mean, even if I have kids, family, whatever it is, I can't make them make me feel better. That is my job. So hold yourself and stop catastrophizing the situation and really offer your brain the real facts because the rest is a story. So you have to zoom out and see yourself in the long term instead of the medium term. And this is also what makes you really good at marketing and sales and making money and being successful. This is what keeps you in the game, learning how to navigate the dips, knowing that the dips happen and that's okay. It's not like we're deciding that I'm available to be in an up and down trend in my life, but the idea is to remember it's always trending up. I am able to hold myself in those dips and it means nothing about my future because I'm always trending up. I'm always trending up. I'm always trending up. I want you to really embed that in your brain. What's happened today means nothing about my future. I'm always trending up. The shoe's not dropping. I'm always trending up. Do you see how important it is to have the correct perspective about yourself? When you have a toxic perspective about yourself, an unhelpful perspective, you will go downhill. You will create that result. This is why it's so important to really have your eyes wide open and have the full perspective and engage your prefrontal cortex, your executive function, to not operate based on your emotions only, but really look at what do I want to believe instead. And one of the things that I love when I do this exercise and I notice I'm always trending up, I realize my value increases. I mean, not my value as a human, but my value as a coach is always increasing because when I go through difficult things, Now I know how to navigate it. I dissect the whole thing. I create processes around it, like I did with this that I'm teaching you. And now I can help my clients. So everything that I go through is actually making me money. Every challenge is a money making opportunity. Maybe not in the exact moment, but for sure it will be a selling point if you really want to see it that way, because your value as a coach increases. The more experience you have in life, the more you're willing to fail, the more decisions that you make, the more decisions you're willing to make that don't feel like you made the right decision, the more you're willing to make mistakes, the more your value increases. If you don't know how to navigate difficult times, why would anyone hire you? Like somebody who is only sharing everything's perfect in my life and I have gone through nothing difficult, there's no value in that. I mean, I don't find value in hiring people who haven't gone through difficult things because there's nothing that they can teach me. I don't have that perfect life. I don't have those perfect circumstances. So I want you to notice that everything in your life that has happened that is difficult is building your value as a coach, is the curriculum that you're meant to be teaching your clients, that you will be teaching your clients. So every lesson that you go through are the lessons that you are going to teach your clients. These are the lessons that I am teaching you now. Thank you, God, that you taught me this, because now I can help you. I can help all my people. So I want you to think about this. Every time that there's a challenge, open yourself up to it. Say, I go first. I am trailblazing for my people. So do you see how the perspective shifts? And it lands differently whenever you have a challenge, because now when shit hits the fan, you can say, thank you, God. Thank you, universe, whatever you believe in. I'm getting better at being a human. I'm getting better at being a coach. I'm getting better and better every day. And my clients will thank me because I've gone through it, because I know how to handle it. What are the lessons that I'm learning? How can I document it? How can I write it down and use it to coach myself? Because that process is the value that I can create for my clients in the future. And that will always make me money. And this kind of mentality is what I like to call, the more that you apply this kind of mentality to your life, the more you will notice miracles happening, because you are tapped into miracle consciousness. You are tapped into something that is not evident, that is not obvious. You are seeing things differently. And the brain is not going to make sense to the brain to think, oh, challenge is great. This is not how your brain works. Your brain is always trying to protect you from everything. But when you really tapped into a different energy, when you tapped into a different level of consciousness and really understand this is actually all happening for me in my favor, then you start seeing the miracles, then you start seeing the opportunities. And then that's when you start creating the gold, even when you're going through absolute shit. That's when you start believing that you can create amazing things without all the necessary steps that your human brain might require you to look at. So for example, it makes zero sense that I made $2.5 million in my business with an email list of 2,500 people. No sense. But I don't think in the terms of what makes sense. That's just not how I think. I never think about what makes sense, because life doesn't really make sense most majority of the time. I mean, sometimes it makes sense. So if I operate within the bounds of what makes sense, then it's going to feel really hard. I'm not going to be tapped into miracle consciousness. I'm going to be tapped into what my brain can get behind. And that's limited. That's limited information. And that is how we create the impossible, by thinking in the ways that the brain doesn't think it's possible. And that leads me to strategy number 3. This is an interesting one, because you might not like it. You might resist it. You might say, what is happening? I don't understand what you're talking about, Juliana, but this is going to land deeply in your bones if you are the type of person that likes profound revelations. Okay. So once you do the first few things, which is, okay, I understand that I can feel negative emotion and that doesn't mean anything about me or my future, then I stop catastrophizing everything that's going on in my life and I zoom out and I really see how this is actually elevating my value as a coach and helping me. And actually, this is a money-making opportunity, or it will become a money-making opportunity. Once you get your power back, this is where it gets really interesting, because this is where we start having a conversation with ourselves that bypasses our conscious mind and can actually get into our subconscious mind. And I love these conversations because this is how I coach my clients. My clients don't create unreasonable results because I give them reasonable coaching. I offer unreasonable coaching, unreasonable questions that literally bypass their conscious mind. Even we have our eyes open. And then we end up finding all the crazy reasons why we actually created this result. So this is a conversation that I had with myself at the time in every single one of those scenarios. And it might not be delicious for you to hear this question, but I want you to let it change your life if you want to. The question that I want you to ask yourself whenever something that you did not want to happen happened is, what part of me wanted this? What part of me wanted this to happen? Let's say that you got to the end of your launch and you didn't get the result. Well, what part of you wanted that result that you got that you didn't want? I know it's a little bit of a mind twist, but I want you to really sit with that question. It might not feel good to ask yourself, wait, why did I want that guy that I thought he was my person to break up with me in the middle of my launch or right before I started it? Why did I want this health problem to arise when I least needed it? Why did I want this difficult client to ghost me and not pay me? Why did I want X, insert the terrible thing that you think shouldn't be happening? What part of me wanted it? Because here's the thing, when you start understanding that you are so powerful and you played a role in creating the result, you literally get all your power back because the universe is always a yes to what you want. So there is a part of you that wanted this to happen. Let's see. Otherwise, we're going to end up in victim mentality at the victim of our circumstances. And then we're going to find ourselves complaining, criticizing to our friends, our family, our coaches, and just being in victimhood and always repeating the same pattern. But if you want to break patterns for good, then you really want to understand, okay, if I really believe that I'm the creator of my own reality and that there are things that I cannot control that just happened, but I do play a role in my creation because this is a co-creative experience, then what part of me wanted this launch to go the way it did? What part of me wanted that? What part of me wanted the launch to have 15 people instead of 30? And so, for example, when I was going through the breakup with that ex a few years later, actually, because we got back together and broke up and got back together and broke up. I mean, the whole thing was a thing. But we got back together eventually and we broke up again. And I remember it was again in the middle of one of my launches. And I started asking myself, wait, what part of me wanted this? And here's what I realized, that the relationship that I had with him was based on finding comfort. We were so good at being comfortable with each other and like just being together. And at the time, he was going through a lot of struggle in his company. So the way that I shrank myself to relate to him was to be on the struggle. Oh, things are not working for me either. Oh, and so then we could both be in the same vibration of like, life is hard. This is really difficult. Oh, things are not going the way they used to. Oh, and I realized, oh my God, this is how I find connection with this person. This is how I keep connection with this human that is not actually right for me, but that feels so good in so many other ways because we have chemistry and we have this and we have that. But he's on the struggle bus in his company, even though he has a lot of success going on. There's also a lot of struggle. And there's no shame in that. But I noticed that I had been collapsing myself in order to relate to him on the vibration of struggle. And I was like, oh my God, I wanted to connect through struggle. It makes so much sense that I didn't get the result that I wanted. So I could go and cry and be like, baby, oh my God, look what happened. He'd be like, I know, it's so hard. It's so deep. I get it. And I was like, oh my God, interesting, right? This also has happened to so many of my clients. They go through a launch and they go all in and they do all the right things. And then they get a certain number of clients instead of the number that they wanted. And they're like, I did everything right. I coach myself every day. Oh my God, why did this happen? And I'm like, well, what part of you wanted it to happen? Let's explore that. And what we realize is, oh, they were not energetically available to hold space for a room of 30 people. And they were just getting started with their first, second, third, or fourth group launch or whatever. And they only felt energetically available to hold the number that they got because they were afraid that if they got more people, maybe they wouldn't deliver an amazing experience and then their reputation would go to the gutter. Oh, so notice that there's always a reason why we get the result that we want. And if we walk blindly in the conscious mind without really understanding the role that our subconscious mind plays in our life, then we're always going to be disappointed, frustrated, and scratching our heads. Why is this happening? It shouldn't be happening. Is someone fair? I'm the victim of my circumstances. These are the types of conversations that we have inside the Magnetize and Monetize Mastermind and inside of my higher level mastermind, the Momentum Mastermind, because that's the type of coaching that is needed in order for us to create the results that we want and to really elevate the consciousness, the self-awareness that we have around our patterns so that the work that we do, like the doing, the actions actually works. So ask yourself, what part of me wanted this client to say no? What part of me wanted this divorce to happen? What part of me was not ready to create the goal that I wanted? What part of me wanted this to happen? Let's say that you got sick. This is a typical example. People get sick and then they don't reach their goal. And it's because their body doesn't feel ready for what's coming. And so the body literally has a subconscious reaction to this big vision that you're stepping into because you're not ready to hold yourself in the face of such a big mission. So that's why when I work with my clients, we expand their emotional and their energetic capacity to create and hold what they want. Maybe you wanted a break from your business. Maybe you wanted a break from the routine that you have. Maybe you're burning yourself out. So, of course, you get sick because your body is saying no. So, we unconsciously create scenarios that give us what we want. And if we're like, no, I didn't want this. No, I didn't really want this. No, you did. You did. You did. So, ask what part of me wanted this. Get really intimate with yourself. There's no judgment. And it can be really confronting to ask yourself these questions. But when you do, you just awaken to your own power. And then you can intentionally decide, okay, here's how I want to take a break from my business. Here's how I would like the flow of my business to be. I don't want my clients just to ghost me. Here's how I want things to work out instead. I don't want to get sick in order to get a break. I want to build in breaks in my life. I want to have a life that's spacious so that I don't have to get sick every time that I'm expanding. I used to get sick all of the time when I was expanding. It was because I just didn't have the emotional capacity and the energetic capacity just to hold and navigate things in life. And that's why now I take pristine care of myself in seasons of difficulty and in seasons of expansion. Because if you're expanding, that literally feels the same way in your body as if you were going through something difficult. So you get to redesign, realign, redefine how you want to create what you want and catch all these patterns that you might not be seeing that are actually repeating, creating stories that you don't want to create in your life. Okay, so the fourth strategy that I want you to apply once you have gained awareness and wisdom around what part of you wanted this, the next thing that I want you to get into is, okay, how do we actually create what we desire? How do I can still create big money goals? And how do I direct the energy in the correct way? So one of the mistakes that people make when it comes to manifestation is they think that the first step is to focus on something that they want. This is common knowledge that you can Google, find lots of manifestation courses or teachers say, start with thinking about what you want. I found that something was not working for me when I did that process. And I realized why. Because energetically, when we start by saying, here's what I want, what we're saying at the same time is, here's what I don't have. You're basically speaking at the same time as you're saying, here's what I want. You're underlining the thing that you don't have. And we cannot create what we want from a place of insufficiency. So step 4 is before you ask, what do I want the result to be, is wait, how can I appreciate what I have now? And this is the step that literally changed everything for me in that January of 2021 launch when I was heartbroken and my coach told me to just not do the launch. And I decided to only send the emails. One of the things that I did was learning how to love the number of people that I had at the time enrolled. Because before we opened the cart, I had 16 people enrolled. And I just thought that's not enough. It's not the number that I'm going for. It's less. So I was already thinking what I have is not enough, is not good enough, it's not good enough. We don't have what we want. And I was completely dismissing what I did have, 16 souls that already had said yes to a transformation. So I decided if I get no more people, I'm going to love this cohort no matter what. I'm going to love my results no matter what. And from that place, I decided to send the emails. I decided to, heal my heart and focus on just repairing that, instead of focusing on, oh my God, we didn't hit our goal. We're so far behind. We only have 16 people. We only have this. Anytime that you find yourself saying, I only have this, I only have one client, I only got this, you're in lack. You're not appreciating what you do have. You're coming from the energy of it's not good enough, it's not sufficient. So if you really want to manifest, what you must do before you ask for what you want is getting to a place of sufficiency. And the way we get to sufficiency is via appreciation. Deep appreciation of what you do already have, and not just like, oh yeah, thank you God, I'm so grateful for this and that, and not really feeling it. Don't do it. Don't lie to yourself. Don't be like, I did it, it didn't work. Listen, you will work if you do it. It's guaranteed. I know because I have tried it over and over again, and I know when my clients do it and I feel the energy that they come from, which is like, I really love this. No matter what happens, I got my back. No matter what happens, this is the result that I want to. No matter what happens, I'm already so fulfilled and happy with what I currently have. Everything else would be amazing. It would be amazing. And I'm holding it. And yes, that's the vibe. And of course, I'm going for it. But I am so deeply appreciative of what I have right now. That mentality, I think, is something that I've had a little bit since I was little, because I had so little to cling on to. I'm like, okay, well, at least I have this. Like, okay, thank God for this. Thank God for that. Thank God for this. So I have learned to become someone who appreciates even like my little apartment in Chicago. I mean, I was living in Chicago and it's one of the coldest cities in the winter, but I was so happy that I was living in America. And I wake up every day until this day just being like, I live in the United States. Like, what is happening? I live in the United States. Holy shit, that already is a win. I wake up and I'm like, I can drink water from the tap. Winning. I can, like, forget about the view of the beach. If you're watching the YouTube the video, forget about this, forget about the fancy stuff, forget about everything. Like, I wake up healthy. I can breathe. I can walk. I can talk. I have the internet. What? I can send my, like, do this. What? I just live in a state of appreciation of what I do have while I'm going through the shit. So step number 4 is, where are you in insufficiency and how can you get to a place of sufficiency? And you do that via appreciation, deep appreciation. This is not just like a thing you do in the morning for 3 minutes when you write it down in your journal. This is a way of life. This is a way of operating. When you operate this way, that's when you create miracles. So, and the way that you create miracles consistently is just by practicing, noticing the times when you feel in insufficiency. I only have this. I only have that. Catch those and reframe. Oh, wait, I'm not getting present to what I do have. That's so cute. Let me come back to my power and appreciate what you do have, because that's going to get your entire body to sufficiency, to really feeling safe. So not only your mind is going to get behind it, your body, your nervous system is going to feel safe, is going to feel like held. And that's what you want, so that the energetic also can get behind it. When you have your mind, your body, and your energetic body behind the whole goal, then things just happen with a lot less effort. So once you have gotten to a place of sufficiency and you're like, okay, here's what I want to create. And I know I'm going through something really difficult, but I'm appreciative of what is. I love what's happening. I know it's happening for me. Even if you can get to a place of loving it, because let's be real, it's just not available to us, then get to a place of acceptance. Okay, I accept this is happening. It's okay that it's happening. Even though it feels like it's not okay, I know that I'm always trending up. I know that I can feel negative emotion and I can still create amazing things. I know that this is all happening for me. So let me accept what is happening. I don't need to know the lesson right now. Maybe I don't need to figure it out. Maybe I will never know what is happening. But what I do know is that I am taken care of right now in this second. I can breathe. I have shelter. I have water. I am safe. I appreciate what is. Now, the 5th question, then step number 5 is in the correct sequence, which is, right, so what do I want? Right? Like, now the question is in the correct sequence once you have gotten to a place of sufficiency. So what do I actually want? So when you come from this place of sufficiency, what you want just happens differently. You think differently, you show up differently, you move through the world differently. So let's say the man broke up with you, the divorce is happening, the mom died, the pet died, whatever happened, right? Okay, I can move through this. I can handle it. I can hold it. I have 1 client. I want 10. Okay, great. I want 10 clients. Amazing. But I'm in appreciation of this 1 client that I do have. Amazing. So you focus on the one that you have and appreciate it and think, oh my God, I love coaching this client, or I love everything that this client is about. I love how whatever it is that you appreciate. And for the longest time, this is how I operated in my business. I just wanted to create 1 client a month at 10K. That was my goal. My goal is 1 client a month, 1 client a month, 1 client a month, right? But there were months where I had no clients coming in. And my goal was always, I know one's coming. I know one's coming. And the moment that one signed on, I would love, appreciate it, talk about it, relish in it. It was like I was in love with this person. I would talk about their results anonymously. Even if I had only 1 client, I would talk about different ways that I coached this person or different things that came out of the sessions. And so naturally, my energy was opening up to receiving more and more of that, because I got clear, okay, here's what I want, here's what I have, and I'm so appreciative of what I have, so I'm going to multiply it. I'm going to talk about it. I'm going to share more of it. So if you're in the middle of a launch and you're like, I only have 10 people and I wanted 40, okay, well, look at these 10 people, look through their applications, get on a call with them. What inspired you to buy? Why are you here? Tell me more. Like, let yourself get immersed in the energy of what you have, and then think about, how can I create more of that? What do my clients need to hear who are out there? Because I believe they are out there, because I know that they're listening and I know that more people are coming. What do I get to say? How do I talk about these people that I do have? How grateful I am for that? How much they're in for a treat? And then from that place, literally, you have to control nothing. It doesn't matter where you post, how often you post. It doesn't matter the technicalities. What matters is the energy that you're in. You're opening yourself up energetically to receive more of that. And of course, you do the thing, you do the writing, you do the posting, you do the sharing, but don't try to control the funnel. Like, my clients come from places that I don't even expect. They are unannounced and they all of a sudden show up in my inbox. And this is how it was back in 2018. 3 months, no clients. Next month, 4 clients all at once, because one found me, bought within 48 hours my one-on-one coaching program, and then told 2 of her friends. And then another client came in that month. How could I have controlled that? I let go of the reins. I decided this is not for me to control. I just know that at the end of the year, it's all going to line up. It's all going to line up. which leads me to the last thing. And the last thing is to let go of the timeline. I know you want this launch to work. I know you want this month to have a certain number of sales and income or whatever. But the thing that I have learned in few years that I have been in business compared to so many other people in the 7 years that I have been in business, and also the decades that I have been alive, it's that when we let go of the timeline, everything happens a lot faster. We treat ourselves with a lot more kindness. And I remember a specific story that really taught me this lesson. It was 2020. I was so jealous because I saw a coach who did an event, and the coach said that they had made $1 million in their business just by doing this event. And this coach had only started being a coach 2 years prior. And I had already been doing it for a while. And I was like, how is it possible that someone's making that much money, $1 million in a weekend? And here I am, I want my million. And I was so attached to the million and the million and the goal. I was so attached to the goal. I was just clinging onto it. I was so pissed. I was jealous. I just did not like myself at the time. And what I did once, I was just so tormented by my own thoughts about why it wasn't happening fast enough that I decided to just ask myself, okay, it doesn't feel good to put so much pressure on yourself. So what if this takes 10 years? Are you willing to give yourself 10 years to make $1 million? And I think at the time I was like 29, I don't know, whatever. But I was like, yeah, like if by 40 I have made $1 million, that'd be so cool. I was like, no one in my family has done that. So of course I would feel so proud of myself. And I let go of the timeline of how long it needed to be for me to make $1 million and feel cool as shit. I was like, I'm going to feel cool as shit no matter what. And I'm going to feel cool as shit for who I am today. And the $1 million is going to come, and I'm going to give myself 10 years to do it. And you know what happened that year? I made my first million, $1.5 million in 2020. How can we explain that? The only explanation that I have is that I let go of the timeline. I came from a place of sufficiency. I continued to understand how everything that had happened in my life up until that point had only been adding value to who I was as a coach. My value as a coach kept increasing every time that I sat down, coached myself, and saw the value in every single one of the terrible lessons that I had gone through, or the terrible circumstances that were so difficult. I had to extract the value. And what I was doing is I was putting myself in a place of power within myself. And guess what people are attracted to? Somebody who sits quietly but feels in their power. People love that. Why? Because we want that. We want to feel powerful. We don't have to be loud. We don't have to talk about it. We don't have to say it. But it's just the way you navigate the world. And when you really feel that inside, no one can take that away from you. And of course, talk about it. Of course, I'm all about sharing. I mean, that's why I did the Expose Your Truth challenge, because I wanted people to know there's so much value that I can offer to you. So it's your job to also make it easy for your clients to find you by sharing all the lessons that you know that you have been withholding and harboring because you're too afraid of people judging you, et cetera, et cetera. Listen, it's time for you to get present to how powerful you are, extract the lessons, really let go of the timeline. Know that your result is guaranteed. And the only way that is not guaranteed that you won't get it is if you decide that you're going to quit. I don't care what gets in the way. You can still create your result. Your result is yours, guaranteed. Maybe you're going to have to give it a couple of months, maybe a year or two. Can you do that? Can you let go of the pressure? I am so impatient. I like things quickly. I like things fast. I am an Aries. I want it now. I'm a chop chop kind of lady. I'm a chop chop kind of lady. I like things to be quick. I like efficiency. Believe me, I don't want to say wait. But if you don't want to wait, then wait. Like let go of the pressure. It's like the duality of life. If you want things to come quickly, then slow down just a little bit. Just be more intentional. Drop the pressure. If the timeline's putting pressure, drop the pressure. Maybe keep the timeline, but drop the pressure. You cannot have both. You either have the timeline and drop the pressure, or the other way around. You cannot have both, because you're going to burn out and you're going to feel like things are not happening fast enough, and you're going to quit your business. And then it's all going to be a perpetual story of, I can't get what I want. Life always gets in the way. And that is absolutely not true, my loves. So I want to recap the 6 strategies to move through life in every difficult circumstance and still create the desired result that you want, big money goals included. Number 1, you don't need to be high vibe all the time. You can feel negative emotion and still create a lot of fucking money. Number 2, zoom out. Stop catastrophizing the situation and make it mean anything about your future. Whatever's happening right now means nothing about what you can create in the future, period. Number 3, ask yourself, what part of me wanted this result? What part of me wanted this to happen? Really get present to how powerful you are. what part of you actually wanted to create. This is not for self-torture. This is not for self-deprecation. This is not to beat yourself up. This is to get present to how powerful you are and how godly you are, because that's what you are doing. You are creating. You're the creator of your own reality. So what part of you wanted this reality? And rearrange how you want the reality to work next time. If you wanted a little break on your business, then maybe we want to do it not by getting sick, but by being more consistent in our self-care. So find the way that you wanted this and then rearrange it, realign it, which leads you to a place, which is number 4 of, okay, let's get to feeling sufficient. Because before we ask for what we want, we need to come from a place of sufficiency. So how can we do that? Appreciation, daily appreciation. Every single moment you get up, you go to the bathroom. Wow, I'm so grateful that I can do this. The thing we do in the bathroom. I'm going to go and eat my lunch. I'm so appreciative that I have food to eat. Wow, everything in your life should literally burst every cell of your being with appreciation. I'm so appreciative that I get to share this message with you right now. Like, I'm bursting with appreciation. I love living my life with a baseline of appreciation, because that is what gives me the homeostasis in my body to go for big things and actually hold them. Which leads me to thing number 5. Focus on what you want, and feel it in your body as if you already had it. I know that this is happening. I know that this is happening. I know that this is happening, which leads me to thing number 6. I know that this is happening, even if it doesn't happen in the timeline that I want. But I'm not willing to put pressure on myself, or I'm willing to onboard the pressure and I'm okay with that. Sometimes it's fine if you want to operate under pressure. Sometimes we need a little bit of pressure because we are really working on something. Pressure is not evil. It's just when we combine time and pressure that the recipe gets a little bit out of control. Okay. So this is just a little taste of the quality of conversations that we have inside of the Magnetize and Monetize Mastermind. And so for those of you who don't just want to attract premium clients, but also you want to get coached by somebody who knows how to precisely see these unseen patterns, because she's done it over and over again with herself and with her clients, then I really want to invite you to apply to join the next round. If you're the type of person, if you're the type of coach who's amazing at what you do, but you don't want to wait to have a perfect life in order to create amazing results, then this program is for you. Because not only we talk about marketing and how to elevate your message to attract premium clients, but also how to really look at the things that are hiding from yourself, the blind spots that you're not able to see, and bring them to the surface so that once you do, then your business actually feels easier and your business doesn't feel like a question mark. You don't feel like maybe a hurricane can come and then crumble everything. You feel so centered, so strong, and so rooted in who you are that you know that you can handle anything. That is how you come out on the other side of the Magnetize and Monetize Mastermind. All right, my loves. It was so much fun sharing these stories with you. Let me know in the comments of this podcast what your thoughts are. Send me a message on Instagram. If you have questions, I would love to continue the conversation with you because this is such a delicious topic. And if anything was not clear, please hit me up and I'll be happy to do another clarification podcast on anything. All right. I love you all so much. See you next week. Thank you so much for tuning in. Look, I'm going to be honest. I never like leaving reviews or sharing episodes unless it's something that really moved me. So if this show resonated with you today, please leave a review. It would mean the world to me. And send it to somebody who really wants to know the raw, exposed truth about what it really takes to create $1 million business and a delicious life. And as a thank you, I'm gifting you a free mini course about the 3 mistakes that coaches make that repel premium clients and how to fix it so that you can start attracting clients now. Check out the show notes to access it, and I'll see you in the next episode. Bye.